Hi everyone, welcome. If you're new here, welcome back. If you are coming back, today's video, I'm going to talk about how I took my reselling items to a vendor event this past weekend and how it did, what happened. So I don't know if you can see him next to me. He's rolling around. My puppy's getting really big. Sorry about the change in lighting. We had some clouds just roll in. So this past weekend, I went to a vendor event and I took some of my reselling items. It was a holiday vendor event, and so I was just kind of curious to see how it would go. Some questions you might be wondering is, why did I decide to go to a vendor event instead of just selling on eBay and Mercari and Facebook and Poshmark like I typically do? And the answer is kind of, well, part of me just missed doing vendor events. I used to do them for my direct sales company that I was in. Another reason that I went is because that I had some items in my inventory that just do better locally than selling online. So I didn't take everything that I had, and I really only took items that I thought would make good gifts. So I ended up taking all of my poppets that I got that I did not end up selling in my group. I probably sold about half of them in my group, and the other half I took with me. I probably brought over 100 poppets, I would say, to the event. I ended up making some gift baskets out of a lot of the health and beauty items that I still had lingering, and a lot of the items that I brought, actually pretty much all of the items I brought, are items that I didn't even have listed on eBay because they either sell for too low of a price on eBay or they just do better locally. So like I said, I made gift baskets, and I made two different types of gift baskets. I made like a body care one that I put some like Bath and Body Works soap or some lotion, some of the face masks that I got from Wholesale Ninjas, some of the Target brand little purses, wallets that I got from my Wholesale Ninjas box back in March that just doesn't really have an online market for. So I put those in the gift baskets, and I really thought that those would do really well. I made 8 of those big ones. They were selling for, I had them listed for $30, $35. And then I made some makeup baskets because I have a lot of makeup still. So I did 6 makeup items. They were all full-size makeup items, brands like CoverGirl, Maybelline, L'Oreal. I also put hot chocolate packets in it in a cute little reusable bucket, and I will post pictures of the baskets that I made. Now, none of my baskets sold at the event, and I'll explain that later why I think that was. I also just looked around my office, my inventory area, to see what items I had lying around that were good gift items, but weren't just on eBay, or items in my local group that I had that had been posted for a while that nobody was purchasing. I brought some of my holiday face masks, like my COVID masks that I had purchased last year, and they just didn't do well because I think I got them too late in the game. I brought those. I brought some extra of the purses that I got from the Wholesale Ninjas. I also had a basket of miscellaneous items that I just called like my stocking stuffer basket, and I posted everything in there. Just any item in there was $2, and it was just a bunch of miscellaneous stuff that I had that would make good stocking stuffers as gifts, but they were still obviously too cheap to be selling on eBay by themselves to even make any amount of profit. So I had a basket like that did well as well. How I found the vendor event, there is a local group in my area, nonprofit, and they do events, vendor events, and fundraising and that type of thing throughout the year locally. And they actually were doing this event. It's an annual event that they do, and it is actually at the high school, which is right behind my house, so it was not far away at all. And I just decided last minute I was going to sign up for this event and take my stuff. It ended up being $60 to sign up and register. Had I done it earlier, it would have only been $50, but because I signed up so late in the game, it ended up being $60. And I actually raised that money for my event by selling the poppets in my group. I had a friend who's also a reseller, Katie, who came in. She helped me just because I know from past experience that vendor events are no fun when you're doing them alone. But this vendor event ended up being the busiest vendor event that I've ever been to, either personally shopping or just being in an event. Normally the ones I've been to in the past from my direct selling company, they were pretty like slow, or people weren't stopping at my booth. I was not allowed to sell items with my direct sales company at events, so I could only get leads, and they never ended up going anywhere. So it was a total different perspective for me actually being able to sell items, and it was non-stop. Like, the customers were coming and coming and coming and coming, and I was literally on my feet the whole time, because I noticed that every time I sat down, people would kind of walk by, but if I was stood up and I was interacting with the people and saying hi, they would come, stop, look, and my table, my booth was set up in an L shape. I was kind of on a corner, and so on the front part I had my poppets, which my poppets covered at least half of the first table, and then I had my stocking stuffer basket and a few other things, and on the side part that was like not on the main walking path, I had my gift baskets and some other miscellaneous just items. Like, I brought the Harajuku lovers perfumes that I got in my wholesale ninjas lot, and some other items. That side, really, there wasn't a lot of foot traffic going on that side, and so none of the items on that side really sold much at all. So that is something that I noticed, and I think that's why my gift baskets didn't sell. It wasn't necessarily that it was priced too much, it's just people weren't seeing them. And in the last hour, I ended up moving some of them up front, but I think it just didn't get the publicity that it needed to. So that's why the gift baskets didn't sell. So when I came home, I did post them locally, and I've sold one to a friend and 2 to my neighbors. So I have sold a few of the gift baskets since the event. So I ended up selling a total of $529 at my event, and my goal honestly was like $200. I knew that I was going to be using the money from my sales to buy Christmas gifts for the family and everybody that I needed to shop for, and I way exceeded my expectations with that, and I was so shocked. But I also was tracking all of my sales, and probably at least 75% of my sales from that day came from the sale of my poppets, and I still ended up bringing a bunch home. I sold a lot. The kids always wanted them. There was another poppet seller 2 booths down from me, and I was a little leery because I have seen this woman around before. My son actually has several of her poppets just from seeing her out at events, and her prices are high. I ended up raising the price of my poppets after speaking with her during setup. I ended up going higher than I wanted to originally with my poppets there, because I sold them more than what I was selling them in my group for, but I was still a little less than what her prices were. So I feel like that benefited me a little bit, knowing that I was still lower than her. But we sold different kinds of poppets. She had a lot more character poppets, and her poppets were like, she had a lot of the larger ones. So she was very nice, very friendly. She came and bought one of my items that for her kids that was not poppets or anything like that. But so the parents came because all of the kids wanted poppets. I sold some poppets to adults too, because I mean, you can't not love poppets. But that did end up doing really well for me, is the poppets. So the one thing that I would say that I would change in doing this event next year, because I do plan on doing it again next year, is obviously the poppets probably will not be such a fad next year, just because they are a fad item. The fad's kind of dying down a little bit. Obviously, I would need to find something that's a fad and know that I'm not going to know my location until like the day of setup. So just kind of putting the stuff that I want to sell more in the front aisle if I'm have a corner aisle or whatever. So that, but in the past, I had always been to the vendor events. I used to do them with my mom growing up, and then just doing them with my direct sales company, which granted, maybe I didn't know this because of my direct sales company, because we weren't able to sell anything, but I always viewed those events as a cash only event, and I had gotten cash, and I have 4 like apps that I can take money on. I do Facebook Pay, PayPal, Cash App, and Venmo. And while I had those apps, the amount of people that only had cards on them and they were wanting to pay with cards kind of baffled me a little bit. Like, I thought maybe 1 or 2, but I had many people trying to pay with card only, and I had to tell people, like, I'm sorry, I don't have a swipe card reader. I didn't end up losing any sales because they ended up, each person who wanted to pay with card had at least one of the apps that I took, or they were with somebody that they borrowed cash from. But going into it, I will definitely be coming in with a card reader any event I do from now on, because I'm looking into doing vendor events that's not just solely Christmas events too. So I will be getting a card reader ASAP. That is the one thing that I would do differently, is I didn't know that going in that a lot of people were wanting to be able to pay with card. So definitely will be going into that, and definitely do not do those events without a friend. The only reason I was able to eat is because my friend was there, and I thank her so much for coming with me. I'm not sure if she'll watch this video or not, but I thank her so much for coming with me because she was able to man the booth so that I could eat, scarf my food down, that I was starving, and she watched the booth towards the end so that I could walk around for a couple of minutes and see if there was anything that I wanted to Christmas shop for, or just see what was going on. All in all, I would definitely do it again. Like I said, I do plan on doing this event again. But yeah, that's why I planned on taking it. It's not items that I even sell on eBay or anything like that, because I just know that these particular items just do better to a local market. So if you have any questions about my event or anything like that, feel free to drop them below. I will post the pictures from the event, what my table looked like, some of my baskets that I made, and I will see you guys on the next video. Thanks. Bye.